I've died many times in this life trying to survive, and I was reborn again each time as a new person.
For this incarnation, Lena Bloom managed to carve out a space for herself in a world that hasn't always been welcoming.
Was there a moment in your mind where you crossed from just surviving to actually living?
I'm still trying to survive. I'm still trying to get what I deserve. The idea that trans women are just out here and living in spaces and on billboards and in magazines is very new.
She made her way into those glossy magazines, and today is making history in the coveted Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue as the first Black and Asian American trans woman to grace its pages.
What does it mean to you to be in this edition?
For me, it makes me feel like I'm worth it. It makes me feel that I'm worthy. It makes me feel that my body, my anatomy, my autonomy is being respected.
How does you being an SI change the narrative?
I mean, the idea that any person that comes from the South Side of Chicago, that is from the ballroom community, that is a representation of being beautiful in those magazines.
Lena has already broken barrier after barrier, a cover girl in every sense of the word, strutting down catwalks and striking a pose for brands like Levi's and Dior. In 2019, she became the first openly trans woman of color to star in a movie at the Cannes Film Festival. The movie, Port Authority, tells the story of a straight cis man falling in love with a trans woman, all set against New York's vibrant ballroom scene.
I think it was important to tell that story because trans women are often sensationalized and sexualized, and here's a trans woman that is not. She's a woman that is in charge, and she knows who she is.
The film, Imitating Life. Lena's found family, the ballroom community, where she competed in the face competition.
Face is a unique expression of mind and body and soul, and how to present that beautifully. This is an example. You have a nose, you give it structure. You have cheekbones, you give it structure. You have jawline, you give it structure. You have a smile, you give it personality. You have eyes.
Just went full ballroom on me.
I did.
I love it.
I
oh my
did.
God, that was so good. Thank you so much.
In the ballroom, she found the acceptance she'd longed for years after losing a high school dance scholarship.
I had to detransition to receive the scholarship. It was a men's scholarship for me to dance as a man. They asked me to cut my hair off. They asked me to develop some type of diet to build up muscle. And because of the scholarship, I fell into a really serious depression, and my grades were affected by that. So it was either get my grades up and continue with the scholarship or do something else with your life. So I chose to transition again and move to New York City and live my most authentic self.
But without your scholarship and without a lot of economic opportunities, you, like many trans young adults, faced homelessness.
Yes. I've dealt with homelessness throughout my life. My dad and me raising 2 children in San Diego. Before we moved back to Chicago, we were homeless on the beach. He got out of the service, he couldn't take care of 2 kids by himself. So when I moved to New York City and being homeless on the trains or being homeless on like, you know, the benches, it was a homeless for a purpose.
You still had the dream.
Yeah, I still had the dream. The dream was feeding me when I was starving in my body.
Through it all, one man stood by her side, her father.
Here's a single Black man who was raised in the projects, raising a transgender, biracial child in today's society. You know, the things that I could not learn in school, he made sure I learned them at home.
Your father was with you every step.
When I wanted to transition, when I wanted to get the things to make me feel my complete self, he was right there. We went to Thailand together when I was 18 years old. When I woke up from my surgery, he was right there.
But literally the living embodiment of unconditional love.
Of course, yes, that's what that's called. And this is what it looks like when you do that.
That unconditional love and support have become Lena's lifeline.
Have there times when you felt like you were a victim of hate?
Every single day of my life. But it makes me stronger. This is what it looks like. All my haters made me who I am.
Every single day?
Yes.
In many ways, I look at you and I think there's so much progress, there's so much hope.
Yes.
And yet I know the reality is that for trans women of color, there's a lot of adversity.
Of course, there's no education, there's no medical aid, there's no opportunities for jobs. Moments like this is a huge leap in the right direction.
For years, the swimsuit edition has catapulted careers from Christy Brinkley to Tyra Banks to Kate Upton. Now, Lena hopes it's her time.
Lena is just so many wonderful things in one body. She's joy, she's perseverance, she's strength.
MJ Day is editor-in-chief of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit.
It seems to me that you've tried quite consciously to expand the definition of female beauty. You've featured athletic women and plus-size women. Why is it important to include trans women, especially a trans woman of color, into that universe?
Because I think it's a responsibility that we have. I think it's something we as a brand believe in with every bit of our soul, you know, that we can do this for society, for the world, that we can introduce you to thinking differently.
It's one thing to have society be ready for it. It's another thing to have, you know, Sports Illustrated readership be ready for trans models.
I mean, if they're not ready for it, they can go somewhere else, because this is what we are, this is the future of our brand.
The audience for Sports Illustrated is predominantly male. Sometimes straight men have a hard time when they find themselves attracted to a trans woman.
Right.
And so what do you say to the straight male who finds himself attracted to you?
That there's something inside you that is honest, that is something that is pure, that is something that doesn't lie to you, and that's what you should lead into and be attracted to, because in society we're taught not to do that.
Now, Bloom's success guiding the conversation, along with big names like former NBA superstar Dwayne Wade.
He's raising a young transgender, beautiful, black, dark-skinned chocolate queen. When you have leaders like that saying, this is my daughter who is trans, I'm a basketball star, icon, and I am presenting this in a way. That is how we change the narrative.
And that change begins with visibility, where revealing your true self is an act of defiance and an act of courage.
Is this beautiful covering a shield or a true expression of
It's both. I have to protect it. I have to protect all of this. Being in Sports Illustrated, that's the weapon. Here's a magazine that has had so many different walks of life of women, and now it's a moment for a trans woman to take her moment in the spotlight and go back to the beach and tell other women that are trans of experience and all different forms of experience to say, get your suntanning lotion, get your chair, get your blanket, and lay on the beach and be there. You deserve to be at the beach also.